Welcome, visionaries and change makers, to Lead with LeAnn, where we navigate the waters of business with heart and purpose, airing every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, here to empower you with strategies, insights, and a splash of fun. Each week on Lead with LeAnn, you'll join me as we delve into the inspiring stories of established leaders and innovative entrepreneurs. We'll uncover just what it takes to build a brand from scratch, lead with authority and grace, and turn business aspirations into tangible success. So, anchor down, set your sails, and let's dive into the art of joyful leadership. Get ready to be inspired because your journey to business brilliance starts right now. Today, my very special guest is Heather Legge. She is a leadership coach and trainer, founder of Envision Success Inc., and the author of Lead with Moxie. Sounds familiar. She has worked with hundreds of leaders and owners in organizations of all sizes as a coach since 2006. And it is just as passionate today about empowering and equipping leaders with the skills and the courage they need to make a positive impact and create their own intentional leadership legacy. Heather, are you there?
I am.
There she
Hello.
is. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, hey. Well, let's see if I can get my video going here. All right, here I
There
am.
she is. Welcome, Heather. It's great to
Hello.
see you. And how is your neck of the woods these days? I gotta switch this view here.
Good, pretty good. I am getting over an ear infection, so
Yay.
but other than that, life is awesome. It's sunny outside, no complaints.
Excellent. So lead with Moxie, lead with LeAnn, a little bit of equilibrium there, I guess we could say, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
I love the word Moxie. Tell me about it though. What does it mean for you?
Moxie. Oh man, it's just one of those. It's a word that I ran across. I was a voracious reader as a kid, so I was probably, 12 years old. Um, I'd be in my room reading more than my brother who was outside playing, and he'd get me out there sometimes. There's a story where I fell out of a tree onto a pile of barbed wire one time. So, that just encouraged me to read more inside, things like that. That's a story for another day. Anyway, so I was one of the many times I was inside reading. It was probably some kind of female sleuth book, like a Nancy Drew or something like that. And I ran across this word Moxie, and it described this strong, sassy female, hero. And I was like, whoa, she's so cool. I want to be like her someday, So this word Moxie just kind of stuck. And once in a blue moon, it would come up in conversation with somebody else. Someone else would know what it meant or have an inkling. And when I went to name the title of the book, when I went to title some of the projects where I was working with women on courageous leadership, Moxie kept coming up again and again and again. So it's just kind of that grit, that boldness, some sass to be oneself, really. So yeah, how can you not like it?
I love it. Actually, there's a business owner I know here in the Twin Cities, and she is a jewelry maker. And I believe the name of her business is Moxie Mala. And so, and I just, again, that word Moxie, and it's just like, it's so attractive. Well, to me and to you. And it does, it has that powerful, but playful kind of an edge to it, as do you. You have a powerful, playful edge to you. I love it.
Ah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, when I started using it probably in 2017 for a women's mastermind group that I was running. And when I started talking about naming the book, that people are like, oh, what does that mean? What are you gonna have to explain that? That's not gonna work for a book title. But it took me long enough to get the book up and running. And it's been kind of trending. I mean, my husband and I shop at Lowe's all the time because we have some house projects that we're working on. And they have Moxie paper towels and Moxie toilet paper. It's like all over the place. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So it is kind of a trending word. So
Well,
that's
that's
fun.
cool. So that's something else we have in common because I'm sitting in a very unfinished space right now. We bought an unfinished house. And so I don't know what projects you're talking about, but we are completely, finishing an entire level of this house, and I'm sitting in it right now. Super fun. In fact,
I've been there.
yeah, I'm getting kicked out this weekend so that he wants to work in my office. He's like, you need to go. So
Well, good vibes on that. I totally get it. And I think that that really fine drywall dust is the worst. So good luck.
really is. It totally is the worst. I'm going to take a drive. I'm going to go up north and go stay with our daughter for a couple days just to kind of get out of Dodge and have a little mother-daughter time. So it'll be super fun.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Well, we also have in common that we did a lot of reading. Do you remember Trixie Belden? Did you ever read Trixie Belden?
I am not sure.
So
Trixie feels familiar. Tell me more.
yeah, so Trixie, Moxie Trixie. No, no, I'm just kidding. So she, in her books, uh, Nancy Drew was her neighbor.
Oh, this is not familiar. I should check these out though.
And yeah, so I'll share my little story with this because I was also just a big, big reader. I remember going into the librarian in first grade and I just randomly pointed to a bookshelf. I said, my book is going to go there someday. She said, what is your book going to be about? And I said, it's going to be about dinosaurs. Well, whatever. I was a tomboy and all my friends were boys and we talked dinosaurs and played. I thought a blizzard was when a big dinosaur was going to come lay an egg in my yard. I mean, the creativity of children. But
That's fabulous. I
yeah,
love it.
and my allowance, this will really date me. My allowance was $2. And, this is back when I could leave my house, walk a mile to the Miracle Mile. It's actually called Miracle Mile. Buy a Trixie Belden book for $1.75, and there was no tax in Minnesota. Still isn't on books, I don't think. Oh, but that changed actually. $1.75 book. Still had a quarter that I would walk by Walgreens on my way by, and I could buy so much candy for a quarter.
That is awesome. I love it. Yeah, feels like simpler times, and maybe everyone says that regarding the past. I don't know.
So yeah,
That's fun.
I have 32 volumes of Trixie Belden for that reason.
Wow. How did I not know about this? Well, thank you.
Yeah, and my children have never read one, and I have the whole collection.
Man,
Oh,
man.
it smells old, they would say.
Oh, that's the beauty. When you walk into a library or an old bookstore, there's that smell. Honestly, it's one of my favorite smells on earth.
When did you know that you wanted to write a book or that you needed to? I should probably say.
Well, I, similar to you, had said most of my life, someday I'm going to write a book. Although I didn't know it's going to be about, dinosaurs or anything else specifically. I just thought, oh, that's cool. I love books so much. They've enriched my life. I want to kind of give back. So I think that was in my mind. And I interviewed, I think I shared this story with you before, but for a marketing campaign, I was exploring the idea of a specific marketing campaign. And my coach and I at the time, we were having a conversation, and I decided I was going to interview 10 women running a business. They were running, each running their own businesses, and they were successful women running business. What skills and behaviors does it take from you as an individual to be successful in business? What will help you get to that next level? What happens when you get stuck? And what advice do you have for other women?
Right.
So 10 phone calls, these amazing conversations happened. These women they kind of let their hair down. They told me all kinds of things. They were just really forthcoming, transparent with me. We had a great conversation. I promised them 20 minutes, and you know, a lot of times they ended up being an hour because they just kept talking. So I had all of this information about what it takes for women to be successful.
Mm.
And most of the time before they hung up the phone, they said, "Oh, you should speak with so and so. You should talk to so and so." And they were making connections or suggestions for other women I should talk to. So it grew. And around 30, 35 interviews, I had 13 themes. So I'm a little bit of a data nerd. So I structured the questions so that there would be full consistency and data integrity. So I wrote like a survey. I wrote it in a survey tool, but I was doing all of the interviews verbally. I mean, so I just wrote all my notes all over the printed. That's terrible, but that's actually what happened. The printed survey, and I was like, wow, these themes are emerging this from the data, from the conversations, things like courage and business development and self-doubt. And it just, some of the phrasing was exactly the same. In some cases, they were just similar. The challenges that they were facing, things that they had overcome, opportunities that they saw. So I just kept going. I thought, well, 50 sounds like a good number. And then, oh, I should do 100. And I was cheekily referring to it as a body of work at some point. And I was at about 100 because I thought, well, that's going to give it some credibility. Like if as I'm sharing the information, so I knew around 35 interviews in that these themes were emerging. I was like, I have to share this with the world. This is amazing. Other women need to hear that these incredibly successful women are thinking these things about themselves, like, I'm not good enough. They didn't say it exactly like that, but all the different manifestations of, I'm not fill in the blank enough, for what I want out of life. And man, it changed me forever. I had some aha moments myself, and I thought, I really need to share this with the world. So 108 eventually became my goal. I had 3 more trickle ins. It was like 111. That's it. I'm done. It just felt like a very auspicious number. So 111 interviews. I was sharing it with blogs. I was doing kind of a speaking circuit in my area. I was sharing some of the information back with the people whom I had interviewed. I'm looking for a Kleenex, but there's one around here somewhere. And somebody said, you should write a book. And I was like, the light bulb, kind of went off. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been saying I want to write a book forever. I think this is the book. So it took me from the time I had the conversation about I should do 10 interviews to the time the book came out was like 4.5 years.
Okay. Fair enough.
It was published at the end of 2019, and I was planning on doing a book tour early 2020, and we all know what happened to the world. So I never did, I never did a book tour. I never really promoted the book at all, but it's still something I'm super proud of. And I grew as a person so much. I know you get that, how that
Oh,
works. You have a goal, you grow as a person, you're like, wow, transformative.
yeah.
So I love sharing it with people. I love sharing what I discovered.
That's amazing. And I want to dig into that. And, talking about the transformation, I'm just about at 1 year of doing this podcast. And I just really,
Oh.
yeah, it's kind of a wow, looking back, look at my first one versus today and how it's evolved and where I thought it would go and where it's actually gone. And yeah, it's amazing to see how that all kind of transforms us as we move through our journeys. Absolutely. Huh.
Absolutely. And we're learning every day. One of the things you talk about is attitude, like the growth mindset and attitude. And
Yes.
it's like when you're just open to it, you're like, well, I'm going to learn something from this conversation. I don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be good. It's going to enrich somebody's life. Might not be mine, might be theirs. That's fine. But wow, cool things happen, right?
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely rewarding. I mean, this is a live show. We have, live guests and things, but we have also replays. And the number of people that will say, "Oh, I watched this replay and fill in the blank." It's
Mm.
just so inspiring to keep moving forward when you get those types of messages. Something else that it caught my attention. Are you familiar with the Gallup polls, the Strengths Finder?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really started the same way yours did, that your book did.
Kinda, yeah. It's crazy. And they have one of their headquarters is in my backyard, basically. So there are moments when one of my running routes takes me right past right kind of through their campus. And sometimes I think, I feel like there's like a collaboration that should be happening. So anyone from Gallup, if you're listening, let's talk.
Wow, that would be
You never
fascinating.
know.
Happen to
Yeah.
know your strengths, your Gallup strengths?
I do. I've taken it several times. My number one is strategic.
Those mine,
Uh,
those mine.
ah, hey, hey, like mine's. Um, oh man, I'm gonna draw some blank on some of the other ones. A couple times I took it, positivity popped up, which I was so excited about.
I have that in my top 5 as well.
Awesome. Um, oof, achiever,
Oh, no, get out. We have
activator.
3.
Ooh, do you have
So
activator too?
unusual. No, no, achiever, strategic achiever. My
Oh
third
gosh.
selection. And then it's positivity and belief. Those are my top 5.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, positivity and belief. Try to bring me down. Good luck.
Activator, maybe there's a one that starts with I.
Well, intellection is the one
There's
I
another
have.
one. Maybe I'll remember.
Ideator or something like that.
Yes, yes, that's it. That's my number two.
Yeah. Okay. Very
Good
cool.
job.
So yeah, to share 3 of your top 5 is a really relatively rare, I mean, phenomena. I've not, I
Well,
maybe I've met someone else that had 3 of the same.
that's pretty rare for me too, because a lot of people share. Two's not that strange, not super strange, but also not doesn't happen all the time. But three, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no wonder we connected. How cool.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. So, I mean, my husband and my daughter and I, there's 15 different traits, not one single overlap, and we're related. So
Right.
interesting.
That's fun. I love learning stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I'm totally a geek. I'm as much of a geek. I was a math major. So
So
yeah, give me
so
some.
data nerd resonated. Yeah,
Yes,
for sure. That's
absolutely.
awesome.
So I am curious. You mentioned, some of the trends. So what were some of these things that you caught that were similar between um all these women that you interviewed?
Ah, yes. Well,
Self-doubt. You mentioned that.
say that again.
You mentioned the self-doubt.
Yes, self-doubt is a biggie. Um, well, yeah, so self-doubt and courage, um, getting out of my own way was like a theme that isn't a theme. Right? Like there were a lot of comments about that. But that can, pardon me,
Bless
that
you.
can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? When we say I want to get out of my own way, well, is that like working with a therapist, or is that like letting stuff go? Is that just laughing stuff off? There's a whole lot of things. But so I ended up with 15 themes, and they became the chapter titles in
Oh,
the
okay.
book. So I'll share those
Sure.
themes. And then productivity was a huge one, like focus. So the top 3, what I call the core Moxie principles, are clarity, courage, and focus. And then under productivity, we have say no. How many people say, I need to learn how to say no.
Yes.
Time control, as I like to call it, which is, time self-management with regard to time. Avoiding overwhelm, discipline, that came up a lot in those conversations. Um, Letting go of perfectionism. For me, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So that's what I call it. Influence was a biggie. So communicate, branding, and sales or business development under that one. Leadership, trust. People said they wanted to trust themselves more. They wanted to trust the people that they work with, the people that work for them,
Yeah.
personal relationships in their life. That's a biggie. Learn, develop others, connect to community. And so those are the 15. So the biggest surprise for me was, I alluded to it, that women were so down on themselves in areas where Other women saw them as really talented, really high achieving, or rock stars, or whatever you want to call it. So because those initial 10 calls and probably those initial almost 30 calls were women who I knew and who knew each other in some cases. So I've been part of a women's executive leadership group for years. I'm in a Rotary Club. I'm in, I've been in lots of other leadership related groups. So I knew some of the women who were had the interviews, and they knew they were having a similar conversation with me.
Yeah.
In some cases, because somebody had referred them, said, "Oh, you should have this conversation with Heather." So like, oh, like Jill, oh my gosh, she's so amazing, and I suck at that. Jill, in the meantime, was saying, "Oh, Tiffany, whatever. Gosh, Tiffany is so great at that, and I'm terrible." About the same skill set, the same, where they both had high achievements. And I mean, these women, by anyone's measurement, are successful in business. So it really wouldn't have mattered that much if it had been men and women, but because of the intention with the marketing campaign, I really focused on women. And what I found is the way we talk about each other, the way we talk about ourselves with each other is very different when it's just women in the room or just women in the conversation versus mixed gender, right? So we're so hard on ourselves.
Yeah. Oh,
Sometimes, you know, and we might just laugh. We might be kind of self-deprecating, or we might really put ourselves down a lot as women, even if we're running a $25 million a year business that we started from scratch a couple of years ago. Like, what? Who is going to find fault with someone like that? But we're finding fault with ourselves. So
that's
that
fa-
was the biggest aha. And that helped me turn the corner on um yeah, certain aspects of getting out of my own way. I wanted to do more videos. You talked about this video challenge that you're doing. I gave myself a challenge. I think it was January 2016. I said, I've got to get faster, more comfortable in front of the camera. So I'm going to record and publish a video every single day during the month of January. So I did. I got faster. I got a lot more comfortable. And I realized the women that I looked up to, the women that I really held in high regard, the ones I wanted to be more like, showed some of their, I don't know, their authenticity, right? That's kind of a buzzword, but it's also legit. They weren't so worried about being perfect. They would laugh at themselves. They'd make a little mistake. They go, "Oh, whoops," and I would sit up, and I had some of my clients say, "Oh, I find you intimidating because you're so perfect, or you never mess up." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing that I'm sending that vibe out? This is not good." So
Mm.
I just need to be more comfortable, like on the fly, more improv, putting myself out there. And that was a theme for a lot of women that I had these conversations with. We can really be crippled by self-doubt in some ways, whether it stops us moving forward, or like a lot of the women I have worked with, they say, I'll make a decision and then I'll lose sleep. I'll wonder if I made the right decision. So the self-doubt can happen before or after a big decision, or just all the time, just all that little worry that's in there. So I feel like I'm rambling, but those were some of the things I discovered.
Well, no, it's fascinating. And as you went through the list, of course, I'm like, yep, yep. Nope, not that one. Oh, yep, got that one. It's funny. I'm sure anybody listening to this would kind of feel the same way. Like, yeah, I got that one in spades. One I didn't hear you say specifically, unless I just missed it, which is possible. But is charging enough or charging what we are worth.
Yeah, I
Uh,
covered that in the sales chapter.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
worthiness is a huge, huge theme for men and women that I've been working with since 2006 as a coach. Yeah. How do you set fees where you feel good about it,
Mhm.
and you feel good about asking them to pay it. So, right? Like, this is a real challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, I believe it is. I mean, I'm going through it right now also. And, I'm blessed to have a couple of women that I work with, that I employ to help me with some of the minutia, the stuff that would drive me crazy to have to do all the time. And they're very talented and I'm grateful. But now that I yeah, I have to pay them, which means I have to have income, and making sure that I charge enough for what we're doing for other people is it can be a challenge, especially when we live in a kind of a world of, well, everything should be free. I mean, everything should be free. Oh, we should get a handout. We should get a, it's just, it's an interesting conundrum.
I mean, the flip side of that is you get what you pay for. And
Yeah.
there is a lot of freebie. There's a freemium model, a lot of things. And there are people out there who expect to get an awful lot for free. But are those, do you want to try to serve everyone
Right.
or just the right fit?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, I know it's easy for me to say that. Listen, I've been there too. I mean, even just today, I was on a call with one of my colleagues and this gal, she wants us to do some custom training for her and her team. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about budget. Let's just see, just before we get too far down the track, we had felt like we had a good rapport. We said, yes, we're interested. And she threw this number out and I was like, okay, well, that's, what do you do? It's like, wow, okay, that's way lower than what I was in my head, but you don't want to say that. But you also you don't want to alienate someone. You don't want anyone to be offended. It's fraught with worry. But if you know your worth and we've had a lot of satisfied customers and clients in this price range, and she's, maybe asking something way down here. So it's like, okay, that's less than what we typically do, but we are willing to explore options with you that are win-win. I mean, there's languaging that you can put in there so that this is what I do when I work with clients a lot. There's phrasing that can sort of automatically come out of your mouth. So you know what to say when you don't know what to say. So you can keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
And then you can always follow up with a proposal or I slept on it and here's my recommendation. Have a nice life. Right. So, but underpricing, not charging enough, I really does more damage than asking too much.
Yeah, truly. You end up with people, resentment and it comes into the work. If you haven't charged enough and then you start, oh, I have to do this again. And, it's not fun. In
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form. I putting together three levels: a do-it-yourself level, a done-for-you level, and I'll do it all for you level, kind of three different levels, but and charging appropriately. Like, look, if you want to take it on, here's the templates. Have
Oh,
at it. Here's some videos that'll support you. But
mhm.
if you want the next levels, it's going to go up. And so that kind of helps when you have multiple levels. Then you can say,
Exactly.
look, you know what? I love what you're doing. I think this is possible. How about I throw in a little bit of training here and you do this?
Yes. That's brilliant. That's such a great way to do it. And yeah, because then if someone they really want to move forward, but truly money is what's holding them back, they still have the option, right? To work with you in some way, shape, or form, to grow through your guidance. But yeah, I mean, I learned pretty quickly. I did a little bit of pro bono coaching. I did discounting, and I found that those people the results were not as good.
Yeah.
If they didn't feel great about it, I didn't feel great about it. It wasn't worth it for anyone. So don't give yourself away in
And
all areas of your life anyway.
And truly, even if you do, I mean, like, I probably will do this. I'll do a webinar. I'll do hey, here's everything you need to know. And by the way, here's the three different levels if you want more.
Yeah.
Because, truly, there's nothing new under the sun. I'm not doing anything that special. It's just that I've figured out a system. It's very efficient, it's very fast, and people are looking for a system. So here, use mine, but not
Yes.
free, because I've actually developed this over 4 years
Yeah.
that you're
Well,
not to do.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's just it. I mean, people are looking for answers.
Yeah.
And if they've dabbled with the free stuff, they're probably still looking.
Mhm.
I mean, because it's not that helpful or it's not exactly what they need. So, I don't know.
And they
On
can
the
always
flip,
move up.
yeah.
They can always move up. If they start where they think they're comfortable and then they're like, you know what, this is more than I thought. You're totally worth it. If you can do this for me, then yeah, then
Oh
that's
yeah. I mean, that's genius on so many levels, LeAnn, because it's just like you said. I mean, if they get into it, they dip a toe and they're like, oh yeah, I remember why I'm not doing this already for myself. Because I don't have time. I don't know. I don't want to learn all this tech stuff or whatever it is, right?
right.
Yeah. So yeah. Then they learn the value by trying to go a tier under where they really want to be.
So Lead with Moxie came out in 2019. Obviously, things have changed. Do you think any of those 15 have changed?
Not really. I mean, there are
Bless you.
really going to try to avoid that.
Yeah.
There are some different, well, I tell you what, I am releasing an updated and revised version in a post-pandemic world of Lead with Moxie
Oh, good. I was gonna.
for
Yay!
for men and women. So that is already on my plate. I
Congratulations.
will say I haven't hardly done any work on it since I made that decision. But I think it's necessary because it's still relevant. The content is still relevant, but some of the questions people are asking or some of the contextual situations that have people feeling stuck or the challenges that they're facing are a little bit different. I mean, because yeah, the whole world has changed in some ways. So yes,
You know,
yes, and yes.
back to our Nancy Drew and Trixie Belden books. You notice they didn't have a cell phone.
And they were just fine.
And they were. Maybe they found a payphone once in a while, but
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody carried quarters around for the payphone just in case.
I used to carry a dime.
Well, I was gonna say a dime, and then I was like, well,
Nope.
I
Nope.
think we shared before we're in the same age group. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
We,
just put it out there because wow, I'm gonna be 53 in a couple of months.
oh,
So I'll just be transparent. I don't care.
I'm like you. I was born in the 60s. We're good.
Awesome. Well, good for you. So yeah, yeah, we didn't, we were, I don't think we're any less creative or resilient. It just shows up in different ways in our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, we are addicted to to instant gratification,
Oh
which is
yeah.
perhaps a challenge. But yeah, I was just actually going through, I had this bag of stuff in the back of my car. It's like the emergency stuff, and it's kind of left over from when I first started driving, and my dad was like, oh, you need, basically you need a whole outfit of clothing if it's winter time and all these like emergency things. And, so, okay, some of it's a bit of a holdover from that. Like there's a scarf, some gloves, a hat, and maybe a blanket. I still have the paper road atlas of the US
Oh
in
yeah.
the back of my car. And I was like, because it's just been in that bag for decades. And the bag's still the bag. It's still great. It's still held up. It holds the giant mag light flashlight in case I have to club someone. I don't know. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's self-defense. But yeah, the ice scraper with the brush thing on it, all the things. So it's like this emergency kit. But you think about that in the world, there are so many things where we carry things around like just in case, right? Like it's kind of a metaphor to me. So depending on how we grew up, what the context is, it would be kind of fun actually to ask people, hey, what do you have in your car for emergencies? It would tell us a lot about people, wouldn't it? I'm
Like,
rambling. Anyway.
huh. Yeah, that's interesting. Fascinating. Hmm.
I used to carry spare pantyhose
Oh, sure.
in
Absolutely.
my car. Yeah. And clear nail polish because that's how you fixed a run in your pantyhose. For all those young people who didn't know that.
Yep, exactly. Actually gave a talk yesterday on it for International Women's Day. I gave a talk on using AI for creativity in business, and because so many
Ooh.
people, yeah, the number of people that said that they still have never used ChatGPT or AI of any kind is it was to me a little surprising just because I interact with it all the time. I mean, quite frankly, AI helped me come up with that title. It also helped me outline exactly what I would talk about, and in fact reminded me of a really great story of the woman who invented Spanx. Do you know that that came from pantyhose?
Yes, yes, I've heard story.
So Sarah Blakely. So she just cut the feet off her pantyhose because they were too warm on her feet, but she wanted the smoothing effect underneath her pants as she went door to door selling fax machines, which is just fascinating.
And I remember wearing pantyhose under pants. And the coolest thing about it is when you took to your shirt in, then it was like all smooth and perfect. If you didn't put all that on, then it was like all bunched up. Yeah,
Yeah,
anyway.
for sure.
Yeah, but
Well,
then yeah, you could get really hot, especially in the summer.
so here's
She
a question. So back
Mhm.
to when we were reading our mystery novels and our thrillers as children. What I mean, we both established we're both readers. That's what we like to do. But when you imagined your future, when you imagined what you would do when you grew up, what was it that you pictured?
Man, I don't know. I mean, there were certain things I was like, oh, I want to be an architect. I want to be a, well, whatever.
Get
I think my
out.
first one,
With mine too.
oh, geez. Well,
Hello, twin.
clearly we're like twins. Or, oh, we're sisters somehow. Um, yeah, that's super interesting. I think the first thing I said is I want to be an archaeologist, and it's probably because like Indiana Jones movies came out or whatever. And then I realized I really don't like dirt that much or spiders, so that wasn't happening. Um, Architect really appealed to me. Ultimately, what I decided to do when I went to college was fashion design. And I am not doing anything close to that now. My undergrad was actually international studies and economics. And, so that was an easy foray into business. And then I got my MBA. And while I was working on my MBA and working for a huge multinational company, corporate America, um, I saw the need for, especially for women, but also for leaders to to show up, to project themselves more confidently in the meeting room or in a conversation,
Mhm.
to stop, especially women, gosh, stop putting ourselves down and sending mixed messages. So I was seeing this, I was working on my MBA, and I'm like, who do CEOs talk to when they need to bounce ideas off of somebody? Because it's like, sure, they could share with their team, but back then, and even now, you got to be careful what ideas you share. People might think you've already made the decision and the company's going a whole other direction when you're just spitballing. The only people who really could understand would be your competitors. You're not going to be sharing all your ideas with them. Your spouse. I mean, you get it. You can have some level of conversation, but they really don't understand. And there's a different level of conversation that happens with someone who's on your side, but also objective. And so that kind of was in the back of my mind. Somebody said, oh, you should be a coach. And then, I went down this path and never looked back. But I love serving in a way that helps people lift themselves up.
Mhm.
And when people are lit up, it ripples out into all the conversations, all the relationships, all the actions they take, and it makes a bigger difference in the world. So, man, once I figured that out about myself, like, I don't know, architect, maybe I could have gone down that path, but nah, this is the right path for me. It just took me a while to get here.
That's I'm going to hit back on the archaeology and architect and how much have you played with AI?
Gosh, I was thinking about that. So I'm gonna have to confess, I do have a Chat GPT account,
Okay.
but I have probably been in there twice.
Okay. No, it's all cool. I don't use ChatGPT. I have my own in my own software in the system that I use.
Yeah, you showed it to me. It's really
Actually,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's the only AI I've even attempted to.
yeah.
No, I don't use it. I really don't use it at all. Although I did sign up for an account. I'm aware it's there.
Yeah, well, so what's fun is mine is called LeAnn AI.
Cool.
And
Okay,
my
I don't think that's what you showed me. So tell me more.
and LeAnn AI knows my story. It knows that I'm Swedish by heritage. It knows that I had a brain injury. It knows that I'm you too, of course. It knows
Swedish. Yeah, not the brain, but yeah.
brain injury. It knows I have a black belt. It knows that I have children. It knows that I'm married. It knows the name of my business. It knows, there you go. Dale Hestar. Cute. That's very cool.
Ah,
So it knows me and I've actually put in my writing style. So it knows how to write like me. It knows how to think like me. It knows what books I'm reading. It knows what movie I saw last. And so when I throw ideas into it, it is like having that conversation. Like I'll, this has just happened in the last couple of weeks, certainly since we met, but I said, hey, I'm putting together a system where we do prospecting, but we also raise up the prospect, lift them up and help them, have a better, something that serves them at a deeper level than a PDF or even an ebook, right? Something that will truly serve them or truly serve their business and develop the relationship at a deeper level, such as doing a podcast like this. And I have this whole system laid out. And so I described it to LeAnn AI. And I said, and I have a client who wants to buy this. They happen to be a chiropractor. And so it spit out that it said, well, how about we name it the Align and Shine system? And I said, that's good. Can you give me some others? So it gave me like 10. And I like these three. Give me the pros and cons of each one. And it did. It's so fast. But it was me having this conversation with me, a really smart me.
that's say
Oops, I
to
missed
do.
that. That's what you said there. Say that again, please.
Oh, I'm inspired. I love this. I want to dive in more. I mean, I have conversations with people all the time, and I'm constantly surprised by some of the people who are using AI for a lot of things, and then the
Yeah.
ones who really aren't using it. It's almost sometimes it's the opposite of what I would guess. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, now here's the funny part of it, and then I'm going to go back to archaeology. But think of this carefully. Now, I like to simplify things. So LL, LeAnn Lion, or JM for Joyminder, right? So align and shine system. Hmm. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning realizing that wasn't going to work. So I actually went into my AI the next morning and I said, so Align and Shine is success system is not going to work because the letters spell a word that was not in my vocabulary. That's all I said. I didn't spell it out. I didn't say what it was. LeAnn AI said, oh goodness, we can't have that. How about we change the name to, and they spit out like 5 more names.
That
Now,
is
ultimately,
blowing my mind right now. That's super cool. I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of weirding me out, but it's also way cool.
Yeah, so I changed it to Shine and Align system. So it's
Oh,
SAS. I can do SAS.
there you go. I was gonna say you could maybe use framework, but you're good. You got it.
I tried method and I just couldn't, it just didn't sound right. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's a system. It is a system. It's always been a system. So now back to archaeology and architecture. So archaeology and paleontology, that was my thing, remember?
What? Oh my gosh.
Paleontology,
The
both,
dinos, yeah.
right? And then architecture. So I would sketch out like the perfect school, and then I became a school teacher. I design a house, and I took drafting in high school.
Mm.
Um, Ultimately didn't go into it, but I had it all mapped out, like what classes I would take, and then changed my mind. But when you think of architecture, what you're doing is you're building something up. And when you think of archaeology, you're kind of digging in. Isn't that what you did with Lead with Moxie?
Well, that's well done. Pretty much. I do dig in. I like mapping things out. I like building systems, building framework. I use
Structure.
frameworks a lot. I have a lot of frameworks that I've built. It's pretty funny. Blueprints, yeah. I also took a drafting class.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Yeah. So once again, I mean, maybe it's possible to always come up with these things if you try, but I'm always shocked at how many of my guests find out that what they dreamt of as a child is what they're carrying out and doing when they're happy doing what they're doing as adults.
Hmm. So true. That's cool.
It is cool, isn't it?
I think cool is my word of the day. I might change that up before the end of this.
Well, we have flown through this time way over usually. And I had asked you to share three different kind of takeaways that people could gather from from your story and from what you've known. And you said that interviewing over 100 leaders led me to some major ahas that I needed to share. And obviously, you've shared that with us today. Thank you. You said that trends that you see in leaders in all industries, men and women, how it's good for us all. So, you want to speak to that quickly? How is it good for
Oh,
us all?
we probably touched on this a little tiny bit already. This concept of showing our humanity, not having to be perfect all the time, like just the expectations. It's a tricky tightrope walk, to be fair. Having high expectations of ourselves and others, that's still important if for performance or not settling on ethics, morals, things. So still having high expectations in some areas, but not in every single teeny tiny ad nauseum thing. It's overwhelming. It's exhausting. I think COVID gave us some gifts, in addition to the pain and suffering, right? One of those is this, you don't have to look perfect on Zoom. Your videos don't have to be perfect. Like just go. just just put yourself out there. Stop worrying so much. So I definitely see a trend of that in business, lots of other trends too, but this humanness, and I teach that. I use the word kind of loosely, but when I do training in my speaking and in my coaching work with clients, that to show some vulnerability, to show some humanness, to let ourselves out, to show that core human self, and not let that what if they don't like me, what if I'm not good enough, rule everything and hold us back from sharing ourselves with the world. So some cool things, some great, some awesome things happening with that.
Very cool. And the last thing you shared, and I'm going to have you answer this, but I'm going to invite anybody watching live stream before we wrap up here. We only have a few minutes left, but you're still welcome to come on over to winwinwomen.tv if you have a question for Heather or for me. And then a quick reminder, I'm back here on Mondays every week, 2 p.m. Pacific time. So we're going to wrap up here today, but I'll be back next week. Come on back and share this video if you've gotten some value from what Heather and I have shared. Heather, I'm going to invite you to share, where can people find you online? But first, you said simple steps for anyone to create an intentional, positive legacy as a leader. Now, they're simple steps. So, what are they?
Simple steps. Well, I could put these, or we could do, kind of 1, 2, 3. I'm a fan of threes. So 1, decide what it is that you're creating. What is it that you want? All right. So if you haven't reflected, journaled, if you haven't really decided what it is that you're creating for yourself, what is your intentional positive legacy? And by legacy, I don't mean like the financial, leaving a bunch of money to people. All of that could be part of it. But what's the statement you're making with your life?
Mm,
What's the world getting from you being in it? So what do you want to leave for others? All right.
yeah.
Uh, excuse me. So that's essentially define your legacy, define your vision. 2, where are you at now? I mean, so identify what you're doing currently, compared to how you want to be living your life. And 3, take action. So, I mean, we could have answered this a million different ways, but since we're short on time, I'm just going to keep it quick and dirty. All right. So it's so simple that you'd be tempted to not do it. But for those of you listening or watching that are a little still don't have total clarity on what legacy you're leaving, if it's not intentional or it's confused, if you don't have clarity and it's not super intentional, make it intentional. You're leaving a statement with your life already. So you might as well make it intentional and you might as well make it positive. I'm a big proponent of that. I think LeAnn is as well.
Yep.
So it's that simple. And if you need help with that, I'm sure LeAnn has a ton of resources for you. I have a purpose, mission, goals sheet that I would be willing to share with anybody. You can find me on envisionsuccessinc.com. So that's ENVISION Success Inc. INC. It's a company. Envisionsuccessinc.com. Heather Legge, Legge. You can search me. I'm on every social media platform almost. Yeah, I would love to share some free resources. There's tons of stuff on the blog, tons of free downloads. There is some free stuff out there for sure.
Yeah. And that's what you said. You also had said you'd share a download/workbook on improving leadership results through clarity, focus, and courage. So I'm sure they can find that on your website. So, well, thank you. This is just as delightful as the first time we met, which I think was scheduled for 15 minutes and went pretty much an hour.
Well, likewise, right back at you. Very delightful. You're so much fun to talk with.
Oh, well, thank you, Heather. Appreciate it. So I will, I'm going to wrap this up here, but thank you so much once again. And we'll make sure to get your information out for everybody to enjoy and connect with you. And for everybody here, thank you for joining me on this journey to unleash your joyful business potential. Remember, leadership is a voyage we take together. So keep shining, keep aligning with your purpose. Come on back every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv if you want to be here live with me for our next inspiring episode. Until next time, this is LeAnn, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep leading with heart, and I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Farewell, and keep spreading the joy.